All right, welcome back. We're going to go today into our community development segment. And of course, let me just give you a quick reminder that the format of the show is evolving. And so from Mondays to Wednesdays, we'll be doing news review at 8 a.m. And then on Thursdays, we'll do the community development segment. And for those of you who have been watching for a few years, you probably missed the news review segment, so we're bringing it back, but we're also maintaining the community development as well. So on Thursdays, we'll be having that. And so we're going to get right into it. We're going to go to the Western region. Now, the traditional leaders, some traditional leaders in the Western region are up in arms and saying to the government that they need transparency in the way projects are handed out and what's going on with the various projects that have been promised, and swords have been cut and so on and so forth. We have a report for you by our colleague Akwesi Eje Enim. Let's take a look at this report. When we come back, we'll get to talk to some people.
Numerous projects in the Western region, such as the abandoned Takoradi third-tier interchange, have remained incomplete, causing inconvenience and difficulties for motorists, particularly during the rainy season. With the aim of promoting transparency in public infrastructure and facilitating project monitoring, the Kosekendi Takoradi Infrastructure Transparency Initiative has introduced the Infrastructure Analytical Dashboard and Electronic Infrastructure Monitoring Tool in Takoradi.
Currently, we have what we call the disclosure portal, where all the assemblies are disclosing information based on a standard made up of 57 data points. But as individuals, as community stakeholders, we realize that they are not able to really filter the information, so they can ask punching questions that will make the assemblies or the duty bearers be on their feet. What this platform provides a unique service. What it does is that we are showing you in an infographic format, through bar charts, paragraphs, the information that the assemblies have disclosed on the portal. So the dashboard filters information from the portal. So at a glance, you begin to understand how much money was originally planned to be paid to a particular contractor and how much was paid at the end of the day. That is time cost overrun. You can also be able to understand issues around time overrun. What it means is that if a particular contractor was earmarked to complete a project within a 3 months period and has exceeded or even borne 2 months extra or a year extra, here, it triggers certain questions.
While residents and traditional authorities view the dashboard as a positive step towards monitoring public infrastructure projects, traditional leaders express concerns about the lack of information regarding centrally awarded projects in their localities. Consequently, they are threatening to halt such projects.
It's about time, man. As individuals, yes, sorry, there, you monitor government projects, you national conference no bay internal the assembly doesn't have any idea about it. The assembly doesn't know the contractor should stop work. The contractor should stop work because into mba obinu krob there be here ade eman for so as abra amount for now aba mo wa betiru there awuna ye nkrora obi se wasama na emma chiki answers. Citi has one Roma and other organizations were educating. This is a new way. Ya journal, why a wide awake into know anything. If we come and you be so on a son we gather our people and demonstrate and sack you from the place. Nyamoro kodono. Onye kra. Onye kra. Government, it is for us. And I in there on shadow government on shadow now on share information is just an administrator to administer our money for us. But why a lord over us?
The project to top no one area. One period there. What about project in na contractor konumu no baka chan wa top whether what back that area this one and sana was start project na him for the ya doing there so project rebanyen asase na yenima will start the contractor
yen school was a contractor mamu krom ameze o emeza At the end of the day, manhole project, such classrooms in way. At the end of the day, Yamina Dumara no Mamina old students be so what you the problem. No, I'll be in the walk over do, wait to why toilet time from me. Yeah, a boy, ama, my friend. It's a contract to know what that's on my wire. Me paid. I don't even know the contractor. Why you sure the work? So please, what you people are teaching us, what we are blessed with, we like it. And it's opening our mind. But let's see how best. So yes, you come here, monitor, answer Papa Biden.
The traditional leaders further elaborate on their decision, arguing that the continuous awarding of contracts at the national level without involving local authorities goes against the principles of decentralization and local participation.
Decentralization, CCR no, some DC another me plan office obi pe ejuma where you do a Shama district. Unless you go to Accra, all orders you have to get it from Accra. And where is the decentralization? You go to your assembly, you can get everything there. Any information that you need, you can have it there. But CCR no, wakatado. Only because this is only. It's not that the DC is lying. He's telling the truth. The only. Why should it be so? Because why do you want to from the top and all but down? Into contract all but now why a handicap. Into no, also could get this and someone approach neighbor for show. What's about what do? One kind chairman. And the stakeholders in there, we are tired of them.
The chairman of the Second Democratic Cost Infrastructure Transparency Initiative multi-stakeholder group, in an interview with Citi News, highlights how the lack of information and local authority involvement in projects awarded in Accra fosters corruption.
We need stuff from central government, but even if the central government control the stuff, they should give us the information. They should also put information on the platform so that we can ask questions, so they'll be more transparent. The more people have access to the platform and the more the questions are asked, the less corrupt people can be.
All right, so there you have it. A report brought to us by our colleague and correspondent, Akwesi Eje in Nim. Now, as you can very well imagine, nobody wants to feel cheated. Nobody wants to feel taken advantage of. And Chris, what seems to be happening in this situation is that we've not figured out how to we keep talking about stakeholders and, you know, the people on the ground being a part. It's like, what do you say? You say governance is a joint effort. Governance is a collective effort. But somehow when things are being implemented, decisions are taken from central government and somewhere in Accra, and it's implemented without the buy-in or the involvement, you know, of local citizens, and so it poses a challenge. We've been joined on the line by Nana Ekwia Kodu II. She's the Queen Mother of Isikado traditional area. Nana, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Breakfast Daily.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Nana. So share with us your misgivings about how things have been so far. What are some of the contracts that have been awarded that you don't have enough clarity on? What are some of the challenges you've experienced?
Okay. In the first place, good morning to everybody. We, the Queen Mothers of the Western Region, Paramount Queen Mothers, we just didn't get up to go down. We were invited by PIAC.
Okay.
We were invited by PIAC. Okay. There were about 15 of us. At that time, only 8 of us could attend the meeting.
Okay.
After the discussions, PIAC put us in a bus to go and inspect projects being completed with the oil money. And the first place we went was Ahinkofi Road.
Okay.
A nursing school has been built there. Very nice building. But there is no toilet facility.
Wow.
And the kids were being put on potty at this age. Schools, So we called MC. He didn't know anything about the project. We called a hint of Ahinkofi Krum. He didn't know anything about it. The project has been completed and paid in full. We went there with Pia. From there, we went to New Takrady.
Okay.
There were being grounds to be built for the New Takrady for assemblies and everything. Project has been completed, and money paid to the contractor in Accra. But even the foundation level hasn't been completed. So we are asking, the third place we want with PIAC was the free defense in New Amanfo. That was nicely done.
Okay.
But the chief of that place didn't know anything about it. He asked the contractor, and the contractor said he was giving the contract in Accra. Even local content, when they get the contract from Accra, they don't employ, some of them bring their own workers. What's the use of this local content? That they should employ the local people. And the project with PIAC, 2 of them were not completed, but they've been paid in Accra for completion of the job. So all that we are asking, the team mothers here are asking them, if they award contracts in Accra, at least they should let the MCEs and DCEs know what contract is being built with the oil money in the Western region.
Yeah.
They should let them know. And the chiefs of that place that is being done should be informed. And the contractor should come and introduce himself to the chief of that is building the contract.
Now,
I was surprised. Secondly, SCMA, MCE didn't even know they are building a nursing school at Ahinkofi Krum, which there's no toilet facility.
yeah.
So I'm employing the health ministers in Western region. This is the school to make sure the toilet facilities are built for these little kids instead of using potties.
Yeah.
And when contracts are awarded in Accra, please let them introduce the contract to the MCEs and DCEs and the city engineers. Please, that's all we are asking for.
Yeah, and I don't think you're asking for too much. I mean, for me, it makes sense that especially because you're custodians of the community, so you should be aware of what is going on there, and you can even act as a secondary monitor, to make sure that if the Ministry for Monitoring and Evaluation is doing their work, you are also doing yours on that side.
The city engineer was not aware of this project. City engineer, Western region, he was not aware of this project.
I see. All right.
That's what we are asking for. Thank you.
All right, Nana, thank you very much. All right, so we've been speaking with Nana Ekuya-Kodu, the second Queen Mother for the Isikado traditional area. Now, Chris, you can see that. Okay, so let's unpack this a little bit. She said there's PIAC, which is the Public Interest and Accountability Committee. It's a statutory body, that was set up to monitor the use of petroleum revenue, the oil revenue, and so they invited the traditional rulers to go around with them, right? Now, when the discovery is very interesting, that there are contracts that have been awarded that people who are managers of the communities are not aware of. You even see, and one of the complaints that they made in the report we watched earlier, you even see a project going on and you ask questions.
Yeah.
And you're made to feel like you have no business asking me the question.
True, because you didn't employ me.
But you see, I think that's something we've gotten wrong. Because I feel like if you say that from central government, you are developing the entire nation, in the corner somewhere in Elubu, or the corner somewhere in Uti region, the people who are managers of that community there must be aware of what you're doing.
Exactly.
It's like, I'm coming to help you, but I won't tell you why I'm coming to help you. And I will bring you the help that I think you need. I'm not even interested in asking you what you need, but I'm bringing you what I think you need, and you should take it like that. I feel there's a bit of that going on there.
Well, that's what it is. I think that's what it is. From everything she said, I mean, they have the right to, ask questions, because like you said, they're the custodians of the land, and they also, like, with having these informations, is also, help the whole accountability process. And if we're in a country that practices democracy, I think...
What do we even understand by democracy?
Exactly.
Have we brought all the people...
It should be participatory,
yes,
you understand?
Exactly.
We should be practicing participatory kind of democracy
yes.
that everybody
Which
should be involved in. Yeah, that everybody should be involved in. And that is the part that we are missing. Like you said, if the custodians of the land come and ask contractors what's going on, and and there's some kind of rubble, at the end of the day, if anything happens to those contractors, who is to be blamed?
Yeah.
Who's to be blamed right here?
So there's that. Then you see the incidents where the school has been built, but there's no toilet
facility.
But
there's no toilet facility.
It's like whose idea was that?
Exactly.
You see, and I don't want to believe that the government signed off on a contract that the designs did not include toilet facility. I don't want to believe that. I would rather say, okay, you know what? It looks like it looks like the contractor shaved off some amount of money and therefore couldn't build the toilet facility. But all these things will not come to light if we don't have people who are in the communities. They live there. That is their life. They've been there all their lives. Also being part of monitoring and even helping government to say, listen, we've seen this here. I'm not sure if you guys signed off on this, but this is what is happening on the ground.
True. And at the end of the day, I feel like, yes, maybe some information is, not everybody should be privy to some information, but I believe that but traditional rulers should be part of the
and
people
how is
privy
it that
to those
MCEs and DCEs don't
know
know some of the things as well?
I was
how is
surprised
it
when
that
she
contract
said
is happening in the Western region? The city engineer is unaware of it.
Unaware of what's going on.
And it's very bizarre.
And all they say is, oh yeah, we got
a contract from Accra. It's very, very bizarre. That this sort of thing should be going on in 2023.
In 2023.
Yeah, but you see, we see development is a collective, effort. So again, I'm very happy that PIAC got these traditional rulers together to take them around, because at the end of the day, one of the regions that we should see, looking even more beautiful than Accra is the Western region, just because they have tapped into oil, and it's there on their land, on their shores. So for me, it's really a no-brainer, but as we also know, the curse of abundance is a real thing. You can have all the natural resources, like Ghana, we've had all the gold for so many, and Obuasi, which is one of the places that we got the gold from, is one of the most impoverished towns in the country.
Right.
So anyway, we're going to have a conversation with Aziz Mahmood, who's the project coordinator for Cost Infrastructure Transparency Initiative. Aziz, good morning.
Good morning, my friend, and good morning to your viewers.
Yes, welcome to Breakfast Daily. Now, so the cry from the traditional rulers, first of all, what is your take on their insistence on knowing a bit better what's going on there? What's your take on it? And then what are some of the things you feel we should do as a nation to make sure that there's clear transparency from government end to community end?
Yes, thank you very much. I think listen to Nana, the Queen Mother of Iskado traditional area. It's evident that they are very much concerned because you ask yourself, what are those infrastructure projects going to do? Who are they going to serve? It is the common people, the target communities, and also the target beneficiaries. So why would anyone or why would any institution decide that I want to keep information to myself? Why would I want to shelve information and keep it from the individuals who the project are supposed to serve? I think the basis of this demand by citizens is that if you look at our 1992 Constitution, I think Article 41F, it behoves on every individual, every citizen, to make sure government property is protected. It does not suffer abuse. It does not suffer misuse. That is the base upon which individuals, including these queen mothers, are asking for the right things to be done. Because if you do not have information, if you are not armed with information, how do you seek for accountability? How many times have we seen government projects or projects that are publicly funded being abandoned in the bush? How many times have we seen government projects that are of shoddy nature? So many that we can all cite examples to. And you would realize that some of these projects, particularly the ones that are awarded from the center, from central government and certain subvented government institutions like the GET Fund and also GMPC Foundation and the Special Development Initiative like the CODES and the MIDES. Most of these projects, even the assemblies do not have access to those information. So it makes it difficult for the assemblies to also relay those pieces of information to the public. So here creates a phenomenon where citizens feel that the assemblies are unwilling to disclose information. Meanwhile, the assemblies may not be
aware,
furnished enough with information themselves. So Kosikindi Takrade is the local chapter of Cost International, which is a leading transparency initiative that is working to enhance access to information, particularly on capital projects, and how that information can trigger accountability.
Okay.
So currently in the Western region, we are working with 8 districts in the Western region, and we've built capacity on how the assemblies can disclose information based on a standard format that our laws permit. So if you look at our Right to Information Act, our PPA Act, our Local Governance Act, they permit information that does not have any security threats. And I believe yourself and the viewers who are watching us this morning understand that every project that is being delivered by the government or our MMDAs, it is not security information, or it's not information that has a germane security threat if exposed to the general public.
Yeah.
So what we have done is that we build capacity of these MMDAs on how they can disclose information in a format along the project lifecycle. Okay. That makes it easy for citizens. You don't have to have any data analysis background for you to interpret these data points and ask relevant questions. And beyond that, we have also tried to also bring on board multiple actors coming from government, private sector. Because private sector is a key player when it comes to delivery of public infrastructure. Because who are contractors? Who are consultants? They are private actors. So you cannot have a genuine conversation around transparency in infrastructure delivery if you're just concentrating on government. That is why private actors are very key in this particular conversation. We also bring on board civil society, our colleagues in civil society space, and also media. Just like you are interviewing me this morning, we are all interested in this particular conundrum that is bothering all of us. Because we have realized that if the government on one side, they may not know that these particular issues related to lack of access to information are things that are bothering stakeholders. So once we have this platform, once we bring on board these issues, then it's time for us to all digest on it, for them to understand that once you are serving the people, once the people are giving you feedback, you have to take it in good faith. I think that close to 3 weeks ago, we all heard on the airwaves about the people of Shama, led by their Queen Mother, organize a demonstration about the bad state of their roads.
Yeah.
It was then that the government reacted, providing them with information. It should not happen like this. It should not happen. We shouldn't come in to make interventions when the carcass is already rotten.
Yeah.
We should arm them with information. So if they know what is happening, if there are issues with funding, if there are issues with contractor performance, let them understand, let them know from the onset. So they can together help you do monitoring, participatory monitoring. I think that we've done this for a very long time. And I think there are so many studies from the CDDs, from Ghana Audit Service itself, about the poor nature of our infrastructure projects and how information blackouts is the main issue that people use as a perception of corruption. So if you are someone who works within the space, I mean like government entity, you should be interested in these issues. You should be willing to come to the table. You should be willing to accept all these feedbacks in good faith. Because at the end of the day, once you go on pension or once your government leaves power, you become an ordinary citizen. So the things that you were best placed to have solved, now you begin to be a beneficiary of your own shortcomings. So I think that this is something that we will continue to speak about. It's something that will continue to help governments to institute reforms. So on the issues of reforms too, I think that post-secondary takrade, what you've done so far is that we have what we call the assurance process. Here, we appeal to the 8 districts that we work with to give us projects that we want to conduct assurance on. Here, assurance is just basic social audits, where we also appoint an independent practitioner in the construction space who would filter this information against what is pertaining on the ground to identify these issues. So together, once these issues are identified, then we prefer solutions or recommendations because once it's a constructive engagement that we are having with government, private sector, and civil society. And most of these recommendations that we are preferring, they are not recommendations or they are not activities that would demand huge capital outlay to implement. So, for instance, most of the districts, our major finding was that we were paying for work done, or government was paying for work done rather than quality of work. So we realized that simple equipment that they can even test the quality of the material that are being used to construct the project. We realized that some of these materials are of poor nature. They are not in the right proportions. But the district assembly do not have the technical know-how or the equipment to undertake such basic quality tests. So using like a micrometer, screw gauge, or even depending on some of our technical university labs to test these works is difficult. So we are highlighting these issues, and we are also trying to let the people understand that these are some of the tools that you can use to seek for social accountability, like being armed with the right information, being able to use a monitoring, social monitoring tool, like a digital social monitoring tool, to seek for accountability. So it's a very difficult field, but I think that stakeholders are doing their best to try to bring on board all these actors to change. Because when you are undertaking a change initiative, people's hearts and minds are stuck in a particular direction. So you have to move them gradually to an endpoint where the entire community benefits, not just a few individuals who are key players who benefit. So I think that a lot more has to be done regarding conversations around it.
Okay. Do you work closely with PIAC?
I think so far we have not worked with PIAC per se.
Okay.
But we have standing arrangements with Ghana Anti-Corruption Coalition. We've done a series of scoping study reports on the state of infrastructure transparency in Ghana, and there are a lot of issues. But obviously, I'm also aware of some of the PIAC findings that come out. Okay. I think critical amongst them is issues of shoddy work or also non-existent project that the government has paid for. I think this is at the heart of the issue that we are discussing here.
Yeah.
So, because if you don't have information, if the local communities don't have information, if local stakeholders don't have information, how do they track progress?
Yeah.
How do they make sure that the projects are implemented according to the contract? So there's an issue that I think all of us have to put our oars to the wheel.
All right, Mr. Axis, I just want to know, are there any potential best practices from other regions or other countries that can be adopted, to improve information sharing?
Yes, I think that's a very, very important question because we don't reinvent the wheel necessarily when there are examples to learn from. So if you look at Cost International operates in 19 countries across the world, and they operate in 5 countries in Africa. So Ethiopia, Malawi, Tanzania, Uganda, and Ghana. This is where Cost operates. So when it comes to disclosure, Cost has a standard disclosure template, which is named Infrastructure Data Standard. These are 67 data points that captures every single information related to the project lifecycle. So from project identification, preparation, tender management, contract administration, and also project completion or contract completion. Here, this standard list of items captures information on how the project was identified, how contract documents were prepared, how procurement was conducted, how contract administration was conducted. Here, monitoring to make sure the contractor is working according to his contract, and also information germane to project completion. So Cost has this standard operation, data disclosure formats that all these countries have adapted. But unfortunately in Ghana, this is a subnational program. I think initially the discussions were around how do we get it to be a national program? And the conversations were being done with PPA. I think a couple of years back, I think 3 or so years back. And the lead person was the PPA CEO, now finds himself in a bit of a quandary. I wouldn't like to go so much into that. That is how come our scope of operations have been limited to the Western region. So we are still engaging with the National Open Government Secretariat, which is led by the former senior minister, and also Ghana Anti-Corruption Coalition, to ensure that this particular template is adapted nationwide. And procuring entities here, procuring entities mean MMDCs or subvented government institutions who deliver public infrastructure projects to use to disclose project data. Right. And one of the key things that we should all identify is that here we are not talking about when the project has been delivered. So at every stage of project life cycle, certain specific project information has to be delivered or has to be disclosed publicly so that citizens will know about it. And they can also monitor to see that or to confirm that truly the projects are being constructed according to the information that has been disclosed. So these are some of the examples that has been done. And if you look at a long-standing member of Cost, which is Cost Ethiopia, I think recently they were able to make a savings of close to 5 million, having applied this data format. Here, the local chapter of Cost International at Ethiopia was able to interpret the data and ask germane questions and brought stakeholders involved. Here, the procuring entity was able to whittle down the cost because it was identified that there were some unnecessary costs that has been added to a specific project. So once the media became involved, once CSOs became involved, quickly the procuring entity revised the contract to reflect the actual work that the contractor would perform. I think this is not also alien to just Ethiopia. I think preparing for this interview, I think I glanced through Ghana Audit Services reports, which is a Judicial Assembly's Common Fund Responsiveness Factor Grants. Here, there's a portion of the DACF that is given to performing MMDAs. And they realized that close to 500,000 Ghana cedis had been paid to contractors for no work done. Because when the auditors went to the ground, they realized that there were items that has been paid for, which has been captured in the contract, that the contractor did not perform. But they had been paid these monies. But sometimes, if we rely on just audit service, if media men sit back, if civil society organizations sit back, if community leaders sit back, these are the dangers that would happen. So how many times have how much has the government been able to recover from these government institutions out of the findings from the Ghana Audit Service? So little. So little. So these are examples that we can learn from. And I think Post-Secondary Takrade has been able to enhance access to information from these 8 districts. And I think there's a lot more that we can do.
All right. Mr. Aziz Mahmood, thank you very much for speaking to us this morning. We've been speaking with Aziz Mahmood. He is the project coordinator for Cost Infrastructure Transparency Initiative. And they basically look at government projects and contracts that have been given out and assess, go from start to finish, make sure that people are doing the right thing. It's an anti-corruption agency basically, and that's what they've put on themselves. Well, I think it's a good, for me, I like the fact that there are watchdogs.
True.
People are watching, people are monitoring. And now we also want to say that the traditional rulers, people in the community should also be put, to task as well, to say, listen, we need your eyes as well to make sure that what it is we say we're doing at the beginning from central government is followed through, and that's what we get at the end. Value for money. We always talk big about value for money, but we don't put anything in place to make sure we actually get value for money. And at the end of the day, so many millions are wasted and lost with bribes and all kinds of funny things, shenanigans that goes on.
It's really serious. It's really serious.
All right. Well, Breakfast Daily is going to take a quick break. We'll be back with a few more stories. All right, welcome back. We're still on a community development segment, and we are discussing the issues of people within communities. We're using Western region as an example. People within communities who have no idea what contracts have been awarded. Beyond that, they see projects that have been left abandoned in the bush, projects that are basically useless in the sense that you build an entire school, but there's no toilet facilities in the school. All these kinds of things, and this is what we're discussing. We've been joined by Engineer Ebenezer Kwafu, who is a municipal works engineer with Takwa in Soyam Municipality. Engineer, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah. Welcome to Breakfast
Daily. Good
Daily.
morning to your listeners.
Okay. Now, how often is it that within the Takwa in Soyam Municipality you find that you're driving and then you come across a project that has begun and you don't have any idea, what's going on?
Well, currently, I could say maybe only 2 projects. One which was being funded by that fund.
Okay.
Yes. And the second one is the CODA project.
Okay. Which is the coastal development?
Yes, coastal development.
Okay. All right. Okay. Now, what is usually the process or the procedure? Contracts are awarded. They can be awarded for, let's take a road contract, for example. A road contract is awarded by Ministry of Roads and Highways. It's passing through somewhere within your municipality. Do you typically get to know about it if it's not coming through your the municipal assembly? How would you get to know about it?
Yeah, thank you so very much. Well, let me use the current road project, reconstruction of the Takwa, Takwa Road.
Okay.
Yes. This is a project being handled by Highways.
Okay.
Ministry of Roads and Highways. Well, apart from the initial procurement processes, the pre-construction, the construction, and I believe post-construction, we are aware.
Okay.
Because currently, right from the cutting of the sod or breaking of the ground by the president, I have been, or the assembly has been involved, and almost every month, the second week of every month, we attend site meetings.
Okay.
We go around to inspect.
Okay.
And any issues that comes up, we discuss, and then we try as much as possible to impress upon the contractor to rectify whatever defects that might have been identified during the inspection period.
Okay. Now, I also know that there is a law that says to use a certain percentage of local, people within a project. Do you find that? Do you find that that is actually being implemented? Or because one of the traditional leaders was complaining that sometimes you find that local people are not employed up to the number that they should be. Rather you find that people are brought from maybe, let's say, Accra, for example, to a community in Takwa, and they are the ones who are working instead of the indigenes who maybe have the capacity to do the work.
Okay, thank you. Using this current project,
yes,
I can say that about 85% of the workers are local workers, professionals. Even some of their engineers, about 4 of their engineers are Ghanaians, and they are operators, machine operators, like the ruler. I know 2 ladies who have been operating their rollers.
Okay.
Yes. So with this current project, I would say about 85 to 90% of the staff or the workers are Ghanaian.
Okay.
And most of them are coming from within Agunang Kwanta, Isaye, Dompim, and then Takwa.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, it sounds good. I think that from where you stand, it doesn't look as
you
that.
See,
Yes, go ahead.
It used to be an issue some time ago, but then we've been complaining, and I think now things are getting better.
Okay.
Things are better. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much for speaking to us this morning. We appreciate
Very
your time.
much. Yeah.
And that's Engineer Ebenezer Kwafo, who is with the Takwa Nswayem municipality. All right. So, yeah. I mean, at least from his end,
from his side, it sounds a bit positive.
A little more positive.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but I think it's important for the stakeholders to actually know what's going on, especially people that are supposed to be watching over people. Like the chiefs, the traditional rulers. It's important for them to really know what's happening in our area for accountability's sake.
Yeah.
And apart from accountability, and for the fact of monitoring too. You understand? It's important to monitor all this and know what's going on. Because I feel like most times people just wake up and just do whatever they want to do.
Of course. Because nobody's looking.
Yes. And because we have the power to.
Yeah.
And nothing's going to happen.
Yeah.
While it affects the people down there, the people that you expect to use these infrastructures.
Yeah, absolutely.